So, as promised, this is part 2 of a answered questions, your questions answered on Book Talk with Tracy. I'm so glad you joined me for part 2. So last time I answered the questions, which is your favorite books that you've written so far? That was difficult. When did you know you were called to be a writer? And what authors influenced your writing? So I'm continuing to answer your questions that you sent in via email and on social media. So the fourth question that I have today is, where do you get your ideas? Well, that is a mind blower. I don't everywhere. That's a really lame answer, I know. But it's often very strange or random things that will inspire me. So I've been inspired from books I've read, maybe a topic I've been researching. When I was homeschooling my own children, we were looking into creation, and that was part of what inspired Conspiracy of Bones. My Mother the Man-Eater, some of the characters for that book came from playing The Sims. It's true. You know, that video game where you make the little houses and the little people and they interact. So, of course, obviously I expanded on it, but the original characters came from there. I've been inspired from, people watching in malls or airports, again, with character development in that way. I remember one time I was curling. My husband and I were curling in a league, and I probably was not the best person to be on the team because I was often daydreaming. But that one time a curling game we were curling in, I don't know, I was just thinking, oh, this would make a great scene. I could put this into a book. So often, things that I've experienced myself, places I've been, music, certain songs might inspire a thought. There's just such a variety. It's really difficult to say where my ideas come from. I guess I just have a lot of ideas because I have no shortage of ideas and no shortage of just coming up with characters and plot lines. Not sure that really answered, except to say, lots of different stuff. I don't have one thing like nature or music. It's kind of just life. Life inspires me. Yes, it does. The next question is it difficult to balance your writing life with your other responsibilities? I have found that it has become easier the older I get, and sometimes even the busier I am. And that almost sounds counterintuitive. Of course, when I was a young mom, when I had children at home, and, I was involved in other things, working, homeschooling, ministry, it was very difficult to find time for writing. And in fact, in the early years, I wrote during the summer or during my breaks when I was teaching full-time. Of course, I mentioned one other time that when my children were very young, I would write during their nap time or their afternoon quiet time. I instilled that even after they quit having naps, everybody has to have like quiet time in the afternoon. You play games or you do crafts or whatever. But I was very surprised that when my first book came out, I was so naive, I didn't realize that there was going to be so much involved in terms of marketing and in terms of all these other responsibilities. Like up until that point, it had just been the writing and the editing. But then suddenly, once somebody actually wanted to publish my first book, that was a mind blower to me. I'm going to fit that into my life because I was already a very busy person with family and with drama productions and ministry. And it just I could not imagine where am I going to fit that in. But somehow I've managed to balance those things. And it's almost like I've learned where to find time, to be more efficient, certainly with some of my tasks. And these days, now that I'm not really retired from teaching, but I work online. So I'm at home, and I'm able to find the balance between doing those writerly things and keeping up with the marketing and stuff, as well as producing new work, as well as all my other responsibilities. So it is a challenge, but I think if it's important and if it's something that you feel genuinely called to do, you'll make it happen. You'll find the time, or God will help you figure out how to balance those things in your life, because everybody's busy, and it's never convenient a lot of times to do the things that need to be done. But if it's truly a calling, then it'll work out somehow. So yeah, I find that it's not that difficult for me, because I just look to the Lord and keep a schedule. I like to be organized. So yeah. What have been your biggest difficulties as a writer? Okay, well, I suppose I could have fit that into the last part, although that scheduling hasn't probably been my biggest difficulty. I think for me, the rejection has been difficult, and that is something I had to face early on, a lot of rejection. But instead of being totally devastated by it, I took it as learning opportunities. And I've really had to learn to not take it personally, because often rejection or criticism of any kind, critique, whatever, sometimes if you really step back and quit being personally hurt, you can see that there's usually a lesson to be learned or some merit. But it's not easy. Like, I'd like to say, oh, it just runs off like water off a duck's back, but it doesn't. Like, it takes intention. You have to be intentional about not being offended. So I would say that would be a difficulty, and probably also the comparison trap. Comparing yourself and your success and your writer journey, your sales, whatever it might be, comparing yourself to others. And that's always a trap that you have to be very wary of. So again, I've had to be very intentional about not allowing myself to compare myself to other people, but to just focus on what I'm doing and the call that I feel I have on my life. So the last question is, are there any standout moments in your author journey? There's so many. Probably my first novel, obviously, getting published, that was a standout moment. I was so excited. I was very naive. I thought I had finally made it, and somehow I would be able to quit my job and I could write full time. That didn't happen. But really, that was a standout moment for sure. I think getting awards that were unsolicited, that's also really cool. I mean, a lot of authors sometimes apply for awards, or they enter various contests and things, and those are valid, and that's really good. But to have awards given that you didn't ask for or weren't expecting, those are really cool. I've had a couple of those where, Windover Marshdale received a Grace Award, and that was nothing. I had nothing to do with that. It was reader nominated. I won an Editor's Choice Award for an article that I wrote for a magazine. So there's been a few of those kind of accolades that are meaningful because they weren't solicited by me. I think my first book that was on the bestseller list on Amazon was really, really cool. And that's happened a few times now, but that was very cool. Getting unsolicited emails from people, those are golden. Thank you so much to people who actually do that, who take the time to share with an author why they really enjoyed their books and things on a personal level. That means a lot. All right, well, I'm waxing a little eloquent here, so I best wrap this one up. But I am very thankful and grateful to everyone who did submit questions. I enjoyed answering them, and maybe we'll do this again sometime. In the meantime, I would love for you to check out my website. I have more than 30 novels, nonfiction books, devotional books, even a children's book, and some stage plays. So check it out, tracykraus.com, and leave a review, make a comment. I always really, really enjoy hearing from readers. So that's it for this time, and I hope you will join me again for another Book Talk with Tracy. Bye for now.